Hey drafters, welcome to Drafting Analytics, short, high-signal draft breakdowns to help you improve. Today we're diving into a release day Lorwyn draft, meaning no 17 land data, no safety nets, just card text, instincts, and signals. We'll break down the picks pack by pack, talk through the synergies I was aiming for, and call out where the draft went right and where it clearly didn't. If you see a pick you make differently, pause the video and drop it in the comments for the next pick. Alright, let's jump into pack 1. I open a double rare pack with Bree of the Clan, Stout Arm, and Winnowing. Winnowing is a 6 mana pseudo board wipe, but it doesn't really hit changelings, which is a huge knock in this set. It really only shines if you're heavily skewed towards a single creature type, and even then, it's slow. Bree, on the other hand, is a 4 mana 4/4 giant and grants lifelink and flying, with the upside if you gain enough life this turn, it gets to cheat a card from your deck into play. Boros isn't a supported archetype, but on a raw power level, Bree looks playable and flexible enough to start with. There are better cards in this pack, Lys Alana Dignitary in particular, but on release day, I value a rare with a high ceiling and take Bree, planning to stay open. Moving into pick 2, I get past a pack with a rare still in it, Morning Sun Aria, which immediately tells me nothing exciting is happening here. The real decision is in the uncommons. Twin Flame Travelers, Bristlebane Outrider, and Flock Imposter. Both Twin Flame and Bristleback look like solid role players, and at this point, I'm still very open color-wise. The commons are spread across multiple colors and all seem playable. Given that my first pick was a creature-oriented rare, I lean into a more aggressive plan and take a Bristlebane Outrider, keeping my options open while nudging towards Kithkins. Pick 3 is a noticeable drop in power. All the uncommons are underwhelming, with Burden Stoneback being the best of a bad bunch. There is a removal in the pack, Bog Slither Embrace, and normally that's where I want to be in. But on release day, with no data and still trying to establish an identity, I value a cheap creature that affects combat. I take Burden Stoneback, telling myself that a 2-drop with upside could help anchor an aggressive deck. This is a decision that looks much worse with hindsight. Pick 4 is where things start to get interesting again. Kinsbale, Aspirant, and Prim Basher are both solid uncommons, and there are multiple playable commons as well. What I don't fully register in the moment is that this is the third Bogslither's Embrace I've seen. On release day, without win rate context, I'm not yet treating that as a strong signal that black is wide open. Instead, I frame this as a question of direction. Do I take a generically good card like Assert Perfection, or do I commit a little more to Kithkin? I choose Kinsbale Aspirant, continue to build towards a tribal shell rather than staying maximally flexible. At this point, the packs flatten out again. The only uncommon of note is Evershike's Gift, which I'm very hesitant to take. Auras are risky, especially early, and I don't know yet if I'm in a deck that wants the Blight synergies. The best common is Gilf's Leaf's Embrace, another Aura, and again, I'm wary of my opponent turning removal into a 2-for-1. So instead, I take Reluctant Downguard. It's not exciting, but it's on plan. A Kithkin that can reasonably become a 3-mana 4/4. At this point, I'm clearly biasing towards synergy over raw power. This next pack pulls me into 2 directions. Overgrown Tomb and Dawnhand Eulogist are still here, which is a real signal towards black. That said, it's release day and I'm evaluating mostly on card text and fit. Wary Farmers actually plays very well in an aggressive Kithkin deck. Frequent creature ETBs mean consistent Surveil 1 at end of turn, which adds real value by smoothing draws and finding gas. We now know Wary Farmer is a Seer tier card, which is perfectly solid in this archetype. In hindsight, black was open, but this pick itself is reasonable. By pick 7, I'm solidly in green-white, and this pack actually has 2 green cards, Blossoming Defense and Midnight Tilling, both solid C+ playables. Despite that, I take Surly Farrier here, and this is just a mistake. Farrier is significantly worse than both green options, and this is a spot where I let the curve and tribal bias override card quality in my actual colors. By pick 8, the pack has mostly dried up. Rooftop Perchers is the only card above D tier, and it's fine as a sideboard option against recursion decks. I take Gold Meadow Nomad, reasoning that multiple enter the battlefield triggers could matter in Kithkin. Given the pack, this is defensible, but it also shows how narrow my focus has become. When the pack wheels and Lys Alana Dignitary is still there, that's the loudest signal of the entire pack. In the moment, I don't fully process it. I'm choosing between Gold Metal Nomad and Dawn's Light Archer, and I default to Tribe again instead of Power. From there, pack 1 wraps up with filler, Flock Imposter, Unforgiving Aim, Tributary Vaulter, and Impolite Entrance. This pack is a good example of how release day drafts punish early assumptions. Without data, I leaned heavily on tribal synergy and curve. I missed multiple opportunities to pivot into a clearly open black lane. The biggest takeaway here isn't a single bad pick, it's failing to update my plan as new information came in. Pack 2 opens with Spine Rock Tyrant in the Mythic slots. It's a pretty good bomb, but the double red pip is a real cost for me at this moment, and red didn't look open from the right in Pack 1. If I were red or this was Pack 1 pick 1, I'd take it, but here I pass. The pack also has one of the best uncommons in the set, Eclipse Mirror, an A tier uncommon, which is extremely rare. Each major archetype has one of these premium uncommons, and they're all very strong. Being able to look at the top 4 cards and take a Merfolk, Island, or Plains is an excellent card selection. Among the commons, Dawnhand, Eulogist, and Safe Right Cavalry both stand out as strong white cards, with Cavalry being especially good in creature-heavy decks. Even with all that, I take the Weaver. It's in my colors, it's a Kithkin, and the ability to return a permanent from their graveyard to hand gives me a consistent value without stressing my mana. Pick 2 still contains a rare Hexing Squelcher, but a D-. It's essentially unplayable. With very few counterspells in the format, it ends up just being a 2/2. The best uncommon here is Puka's Eye, sitting around C-. It's playable but not very exciting. The commons here are where the pack really shines. Scarblade Scout is one of the best black-green elf commons. Mistveto Council is an excellent Kithkin card. Blightrot, Unexpected Assistance, and Cider Strike are all great solid cards. Since I'm leading Kithkin, I take the Council. In my deck, it's often 4 mana and replaces itself, which is exactly what I want. This next pack has multiple strong uncommons: Moon Vigil Adherents, Kissbale Aspirant, and the Curse Crafter. Seeing this many good cards, especially the Aspirant, is a signal that Kithkin may still be open, even if it hasn't felt that way. The notable commons include Mistmetal Council, Marrow Sky Swimmer, Embrace, Temporal Cleansing, and the Luminal Hold. I'm still light on interaction, so I take the Luminal Hold, which functions like a 4 mana Banishing Light. It's not flashy, but it's reliable removal. Pick 4 still has a rare, Champion of the Patch, but it's a C- tier card that really only belongs in a dedicated Elementals deck, so I ignore it. Among the uncommons, Hovel Hurler is the standout and probably the correct pick. Instead, I get worried about splashing and take a Changeling Wayfinder. It fixes my mana and counts as every creature type, but this is a spot where I should be prioritizing raw power quality over flexibility. The notable commons here are the Rooftop Percher and the Scare Blades Malice, with Malice being a strong card for the black-green elves that I continue to pass. This next pack still has a mythic, Meek Attack, which is commonly a constructed card, but it's not very playable and limited. The uncommons, Silvergill Mentor and Iron Shield Elf, are both strong, but neither fit my colors. Among the commons, Scarblade Scout, Sky Swimmer, and Cinder Strike are all very playable, with the Scout being especially strong in the Elves deck. I strongly consider the Sky Swimmer, but instead I take Riverguard's Reflexes. Normally I'm not excited about combat tricks, but at this point I'm short on interaction. In pick 6, we finally have no rare. Bowler Dash is the notable uncommon, but it's mostly a sideboard card. The commons to look at here are the Preacher, Blossom Bind, and the Embrace. I like Blossom Bind, but I'm not in blue, so I take the Preacher, a fine 2-drop that helps fill out my curve. At pick 7, I'm starting to worry that Kithkin might be contested. The notable cards are the Zealot and the Vaulter. Neither fits particularly well, so I take 10 the Springs. It's an F tier card, but it gives me fixing, and realistically, nothing in this pack is making my deck anyways. Pick 8 is encouraging. The Outrider is still here, which suggests the Kithkins may not be less open than it felt earlier. Other commons of note include the Sky Swimmer and Cinder Strike, but Outrider is clearly the pick here. I take the Outrider over the remaining options. The rest of the pack is mostly cleanup. I take Feed the Flames, Appeal to Eridu, and I'm pleasantly surprised to see another Council Wheel. I round things out with the Riverguard's Reflexes and the Sky Swimmer. Pack 2 shows 2 important lessons. This pack didn't have a lot of Kithkin synergies as I would like, or interactive removal in green or white. There were a ton of good elves that I skipped on that I should have taken, but that's what happens on release day. In the last pack, I opened Ashley Rekindled, a solid B- rare that plays well in blue-red elementals, but I'm nowhere near that deck, so I pass. None of the uncommons stand out. Spell Snare is especially bad here. The commons worth paying attention to are Crossroad Watcher, Feed the Flames, and the Wickermaw. Watcher is a green Kithkin with a solid 3/3 body, which fits my deck cleanly, so I take the Watcher and move on. Pack 2 has Sapling Nursery in the rare slot. At the time, I completely misread this card as an 8 mana spell and dismiss it, missing the affinity for forest text. Even so, it's not an obvious slam here. There aren't any uncommons worth noting. In the commons, Council stands out as a card I'd normally be happy to take, but I've seen it in the wheel before, so I take the Foraging Wickermaw to help support a Breeze Splash. In hindsight, this is probably where I start overvaluing the splash. This next pack still has 2 rares, Dawnhand Descendant, a strong B+ Black Elf, and the Kaiser Sentry, a solid Kithkin that lets me cheat creatures into play. The key uncommon here is the Pyrrhic Strike, a very good white removal spell. I should probably take the interaction, but I got greedy and took the Sentry, betting that my low curve would make it easy to leverage. This is another spot where I prioritize synergy over removal. This is another brutal pack. Tristan, Callous, Cultivator is a fantastic elf rare, and Meek Attack shows up again. The notable uncommons are the Aspirant and the Plumber for Hire, both playable in my colors, with the Aspirant also being a Kithkin. Commons worth noting are the Preacher, Scoundrel, and the Shield Bearer. I take the Aspirant. In pick 5, the rare is still here, Ryan Fire Torque, which is simply unplayable. Don't pick this card. The uncommons here are the Morkant's Eyes and Shimmer Creep, both pointing towards elves or black, neither of which I'm in. The commons to note are the Scoundrel and the Evolving Wilds. Since the pack is weak and for my deck, I take the Evolving Wilds as another way to support Debris Splash. Pick 6, yet another Morkant's Eyes show up, reinforcing just how open elves are. The rest of the pack is fairly weak for me, with no real options. I end up taking Feisty Spikeling, but nothing here is something I actively want to play. This pack still has Deep Channel Duelist, an A-tier uncommon for the blue-white Merfolk, which is shocking to see this late. The commons worth noting are the Preacher, Vaulter, and Evolving Wilds. None of these really help my deck, and I take the Vaulter, knowing it's unlikely to make the final list. Pick 8 is a big miss. The commons of note are the Dignitary and the Sky Swimmer, both which are very playable and in my colors. The Dignitary in particular is excellent, a 2-mana 3/1 that surveils on ETB and death. I completely missed it during the draft and instead picked the Spikeling, which is just a bad card. This is one of the clearest drafting errors in the pack. Closing out pack 3, I don't get anything meaningful from my opening pack, and I finished the draft picking up cards like Kithkeeper, Darkness Descends, Appeal to Eardew, Timid Shieldbearer, and the Scoundrel. By the end of the draft, it's pretty clear I didn't read the signals well. Green-black was very open, especially elves, and I likely should have ended up there naturally. But pack 1 gave me enough Kithkins to stay committed, but without card data on release day, identifying which commons are actually premium is much harder, and that uncertainty really shows in pack 3. Putting the deck together was quick. During the draft, I was cutting cards that I was pretty confident were not making the deck. I only had one true cut to make, and I decided to cut the Kithkeeper as it's 7 mana. I just didn't think I needed another finisher in the deck with the 2 Outriders and Bree. Seeing what I had in my pool, I probably should have ran the Sky Swimmer instead of the Wayfinder or Wicker Maw. I run 16 lands in this deck as my mana curve is low. I have 8 plains, 1 mountain, 6 forests in the Evolving Wild. I only need 1 mountain to splash because I have 2 ways of searching for it. Looking at high-ranked trophy decks on 17 lands, it's very obvious to see what my deck is lacking. Most trophy decks have at least 4 to 5 forms of removal, while I really only have the liminal hold. Almost every trophy deck has at least 1 Imbuer, Eclipse Kithkin, or Lieutenant. The decks also have multiple of these commons: Crossroads Watcher, Gallant Foul Knight, Mist Metal Council, and Timid Shieldbearer. My deck is clearly missing these good synergy cards and did not perform well. I went 2 and 3, but I had fun drafting the new set. If you enjoy the video, please like. Comment down below if you'd like me to review an actual Mythic player's draft to see what they're doing. See you in the next video.